He remembers the name of his granddaughter most mornings, but sometimes the syllables slip away like water through cupped hands. He stands in the kitchen staring at the calendar, and for a breathless second wonders whether the word on the paper will return. That particular terror, the fear that small lapses will become a life rewritten by forgetting, is not an isolated tragedy. It is a growing public health reality. Worldwide, tens of millions of people now live with dementia, and nearly 2 out of every 3 of them are women. Every year, the world registers almost 10 million new cases of dementia, and Alzheimer's disease remains the single most common cause behind them. In the United States alone, the numbers are both stark and immediate. An estimated 7.2 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's today, a figure that has been rising steadily as our population ages. For many families, Alzheimer's is not a distant statistic, but a daily confrontation. Names forgotten at dinner, appointments missed, the erosion of roles that once seemed permanent. And yet, amid the anxiety and the headlines, there is a practical truth that often gets lost under the weight of fear. The brain, far from being a static organ condemned to slow decline, is profoundly responsive to environment and habit. Decades of research now show that the same forces that erode memory, chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, vascular strain, and metabolic dysregulation, can, to a meaningful degree, be countered by what we eat, how we move, and how we sleep. Some dietary patterns and specific foods do not offer guarantees, but they do offer measurable reductions in risk and meaningful improvements in brain health when adopted consistently. This video is not about miracle cures or quick fixes. It is about one simple, evidence-informed habit you can fold into your morning routine, an ingredient to place on your plate that, when combined with basic lifestyle practices, can tilt the odds in favor of memory and mental clarity. I will explain step by step the biology behind why that food matters, the clinical and population evidence that supports it, and the practical, immediately usable ways to prepare and consume it so that its benefits are available to you. No technobabble. No empty promises. Just actionable guidance grounded in peer-reviewed science and clinical experience. Before we go further, understand this. Prevention is a process, not an event. What you choose to do every morning compounds. The difference between dismissing a habit and adopting it consistently is measured not in days but in years, years that can preserve relationships, autonomy, and dignity. If you are watching this because you worry about your own memory, or because you love someone whose name you no longer hear correctly, stay with me. I will show you the scientific logic, the practical recipe, and the small but powerful changes that can begin today. When John turned 62, he was still running the same 6-mile route along the river he had followed for years. He kept his desk meticulously organized, his schedule color-coded, his coffee black. But then, one morning, he arrived at the park, looked around, and for a moment couldn't recall which path led to the river. It wasn't dramatic. No collapse, no panic, just a flicker of disorientation that left him uneasy. A week later, he misplaced his keys, and then the following month, he forgot an appointment with his doctor. When his wife asked if everything was all right, he smiled, embarrassed, and said, "I'm just distracted." Amidst a phrase millions of people use without realizing it often masks the early whisper of cognitive decline. John's story is not extraordinary. It is, in fact, painfully common. Cognitive change does not arrive like lightning. It unfolds quietly, woven into the fabric of ordinary life. Scientists now know that Alzheimer's begins its silent work decades before symptoms become obvious. By the time a person forgets a name or confuses the date, microscopic damage has been developing inside the brain for years. What starts as subtle chemical imbalance progresses into inflammation, oxidative stress, and ultimately, neuronal death. And yet, for every process that leads the brain toward decline, there exists an opposing pathway, one that repairs, protects, and renews. Imagine your brain as a city at night. Billions of neurons act as glowing windows, connected by electric streets of communication. In a healthy brain, these streets are clear, the light synchronized, the energy balanced. But with time, stress, poor diet, and inactivity, debris begins to clog those pathways. Small proteins, beta amyloids, start to clump between neurons, forming sticky plaques. Inside the neurons, another protein, called tau, becomes tangled. These accumulations interfere with the brain's ability to send signals. The traffic of thought slows down. What makes this process dangerous is not only the plaques themselves, but the inflammation that accompanies them. The immune cells of the brain, called microglia, awaken to fight the damage, but in doing so, they release reactive molecules that cause collateral harm. Over years, this chronic inflammation creates an environment where neurons struggle to survive. Energy production falters, mitochondria weaken, and the delicate connections that store memories begin to fray. The reason nutrition plays such a vital role in this story is that every one of those processes, oxidation, inflammation, vascular strain, responds directly to what you feed your body. The brain consumes about 20% of all the energy your body produces. It is, in essence, an organ made of fat and water that runs on oxygen and glucose. Its membranes depend on essential fatty acids, its neurotransmitters on amino acids, and its defense systems on antioxidants drawn from plants. When your diet lacks these components, the brain's defenses weaken. When your diet supplies them abundantly, the brain becomes more resilient. This is not speculation or internet folklore. It is measurable biology. Studies have shown that people who follow anti-inflammatory diets, rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and healthy fats, exhibit lower levels of amyloid accumulation and slower cognitive decline. Regions of the world known as blue zones, where people routinely live into their 90s with their minds intact, reveal a consistent pattern: moderate physical activity, social engagement, and, above all, nutrient-dense foods consumed daily. Their breakfasts often include the very kind of ingredients we'll be talking about soon. It's worth pausing to recognize that your brain is not doomed to an inevitable fate determined by age. Age is a factor, yes, but it's not the dictator. Think of it this way: every meal you eat sends a message to your genes. Some foods whisper, inflame. Others say, repair. Some slow the production of harmful proteins. Others accelerate it. Science has proven that the choices we make each morning accumulate in the architecture of our neurons. What you place on your plate is not trivial. It is communication at the cellular level. So as we move forward, keep this image in mind. Every breakfast is an opportunity to feed your brain's defense system, and the simple act of choosing the right ingredient, consumed with consistency and understanding, could alter the trajectory of your cognitive health for years to come. This is where we begin to see the power of prevention, not as an abstract ideal, but as a living, daily practice, one that starts when you open your eyes each morning. There is one food that keeps appearing again and again in research on cognitive protection, often described as brain berries. You may already have them sitting quietly in your refrigerator or see them every time you pass the fruit aisle. Blueberries, small, unassuming, deep violet in color, carry within them one of the highest concentrations of antioxidants found in any natural food. What makes them extraordinary is not simply their sweetness or convenience, but their biochemical intelligence. Their pigment, the same compound that gives them that rich indigo hue, is loaded with anthocyanins, a class of plant molecules shown to cross the blood-brain barrier and directly influence the brain's chemistry. When scientists at Tufts University and Harvard studied groups of older adults who consumed blueberries regularly, they discovered something remarkable: measurable improvements in memory, processing speed, and spatial recognition. In animal studies, blueberry extract reversed age-related deficits in neuronal signaling, restoring the brain's ability to communicate efficiently. Think of anthocyanins as molecular firefighters, extinguishing the sparks of inflammation and oxidative stress that threaten neurons every day. They help restore blood flow to brain tissue, enhance insulin sensitivity, and even activate a compound called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which acts like fertilizer for new brain cells. These are not small details. BDNF is the protein that supports neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt, reorganize, and form new connections. Every time you learn something new or recall a forgotten memory, you are witnessing BDNF in action. As we age, levels of this protein tend to decline, but diets rich in anthocyanins help sustain it. This means that every handful of blueberries can potentially support the cellular framework that allows you to think clearly, reason calmly, and remember vividly. Beyond anthocyanins, blueberries contain vitamin C, vitamin K, manganese, and a spectrum of polyphenols that act synergistically to neutralize free radicals. A recent analysis published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirmed that individuals who consumed the equivalent of 1 cup of blueberries daily showed improvements in brain perfusion and executive function within 12 weeks. That's not speculation. That's measurable transformation happening inside the most complex organ we possess. Now, let's talk about what truly matters. How to bring this science to your morning table. The most effective time to consume these protective compounds is early in the day, when your brain transitions from its nocturnal repair cycle into active function. Morning meals that combine blueberries with a source of healthy fat, such as natural yogurt, almonds, or a drizzle of olive oil, help your body absorb these nutrients efficiently. The fat acts as a carrier, increasing bioavailability and sustaining your energy through the morning. If you prefer a more traditional breakfast, sprinkle fresh blueberries over warm oatmeal or blend them into a smoothie with spinach, oats, and a small spoon of flaxseed. The fiber slows down glucose release, maintaining stable blood sugar and preventing the mid-morning cognitive dip that many people mistake for fatigue. For those who live in regions where fresh berries are seasonal or expensive, frozen blueberries retain nearly all of their antioxidant power and are often more affordable. But there's a detail many overlook: balance. Adding a brain-protective food means little if you pair it with habits that work in the opposite direction. Sugary cereals, refined flours, and processed pastries release waves of glucose that cause insulin spikes, one of the metabolic stressors most closely linked to cognitive decline. Blueberries can help the brain, but not if they're drowned in syrup or blended with sugar-heavy juices. The goal is synergy, not sabotage. A small bowl of blueberries each morning, paired with protein and healthy fats, can become a ritual of preservation. It doesn't demand discipline. It invites awareness. It transforms breakfast from a passive act into a conscious investment in mental longevity. You don't need exotic supplements or untested powders. You need consistency, patience, and understanding of what each bite communicates to your cells. And while we explore these ideas together, if you find this kind of knowledge meaningful, take a second to subscribe to this channel. Here, we translate scientific research into practical actions that fit your everyday life, simple, natural, and evidence-based. Subscribing ensures you never miss new guidance on how to protect your brain, your heart, and your body as they age gracefully. It costs nothing, but it supports a mission that can help millions maintain clarity and independence for as long as possible. Because this is not just about living longer, it's about living vividly. Every blueberry, every mindful choice is a step away from decline and a step toward presence. And the best part is, it starts tomorrow morning with the simplest of actions: eating with intention. In clinical science, claims mean little without evidence. Over the past 2 decades, universities and research institutions around the world have been meticulously documenting the relationship between diet and brain health, confirming that what we eat can either accelerate decline or shield our neurons. One of the most influential investigations comes from the Mind Diet Studies, a hybrid of the Mediterranean and DASH eating plans, designed specifically to examine how nutrition influences cognitive aging. Conducted by Rush University in Chicago, these long-term studies revealed that individuals who adhered closely to this diet which emphasizes leafy greens, berries, nuts, olive oil, and fish, reduced their risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by as much as 53%. Even moderate adherents showed a 35% reduction. That is not a pill, that is a plate. Other research reinforces this simple truth. A 2022 study from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health tracked over 16,000 participants for more than 20 years and found that higher flavonoid intake, especially from foods like blueberries and strawberries, was associated with slower rates of cognitive decline. Participants who consumed these fruits regularly were the equivalent of 2.5 years younger in brain function compared to those who rarely did. The key here is consistency. The compounds work cumulatively, building protection layer by layer, day after day. Laboratory studies provide the biological confirmation of what these population results imply. Anthocyanins extracted from berries improve neuronal signaling in the hippocampus, the brain region central to memory formation. They stimulate enzymes that detoxify reactive oxygen species and reduce the aggregation of amyloid plaques. In animal models, diets supplemented with blueberries not only enhanced memory performance, but actually restored lost function in aged rats. That may sound like a small detail, but within neuroscience, restoring function is the gold standard, the difference between management and prevention. Experts across disciplines now converge on the same principle. Diet is not complementary medicine. It is the foundation of cognitive longevity. Dr. Lisa Mosconi of Weill Cornell Medicine, one of the leading researchers in the field of neuronutrition, often says, "What you put on your plate builds your brain." She's not speaking metaphorically. The lipids in olive oil become the membrane of your neurons. The antioxidants in berries patrol your synapses. The omega-3s in fish anchor the electrical stability of your thoughts. When understood in that light, eating becomes an act of neurological architecture. And this is where personal agency becomes powerful. You do not need to understand every biochemical pathway to make a difference. You only need to understand direction. Move toward color, toward plants, toward natural fats, and away from processed sugars and synthetic additives. Each movement is a signal to your cells that you are choosing maintenance over decay. The brain listens, it responds, but nutrition alone is not a silver bullet. The human brain thrives on synergy, food, movement, rest, and stimulation working together. Picture it as a symphony. When one instrument dominates and the others fall silent, the music distorts. The same is true for your mind. To unlock the full potential of that morning bowl of blueberries, you must pair it with habits that amplify its benefits. Sleep, for instance, is not merely rest. It is a nightly cleansing ritual. During deep sleep, the glymphatic system, an intricate network of channels, flushes away metabolic waste from the brain, including the very beta-amyloid proteins that contribute to Alzheimer's. Deprive yourself of quality sleep, and these proteins accumulate faster. By maintaining a regular bedtime, avoiding screens before sleep, and allowing the brain its natural detox hours, you reinforce the very process your diet is designed to support. Physical activity is another pillar. Walking briskly for 30 minutes a day increases cerebral blood flow, delivering oxygen and nutrients that sustain neurons. It also triggers the release of BDNF, the same compound blueberries stimulate, amplifying their effect. Studies show that individuals who combine antioxidant-rich diets with regular aerobic exercise experience nearly double the cognitive benefits compared to those who rely on diet alone. Movement literally oxygenates memory. And then there's the quiet power of thought itself. Learning, conversation, creativity. These are exercises of the mind that keep neural circuits alive. Every time you engage in something mentally stimulating, you're strengthening the network of connections that resist deterioration. Even simple acts like reading aloud, solving puzzles, or listening to new music can awaken dormant pathways. Stress management closes the circle. Chronic stress floods the body with cortisol, which shrinks the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, and undermines the benefits of diet and sleep. Practices like slow breathing, meditation, or even a daily gratitude reflection can lower cortisol levels and restore balance. Think of it as clearing the interference so that the nutrients you consume can do their job unhindered. When these habits merge, they create an ecosystem of resilience. The food provides the building blocks, sleep clears the waste, movement feeds oxygen, thought reinforces the structure, and calm protects it all. This is not complicated science. It is ancient wisdom confirmed by modern data. The blueprint for brain health has always been simple. We just forgot to listen. So tomorrow morning, when you sit down to your breakfast, remember this. You are not just eating to fill hunger. You are sculpting the future of your cognition. You are protecting the stories you have lived, the names you cherish, and the clarity that lets you see the world with wonder. When John first began his small morning ritual, he didn't expect transformation. He simply decided to make one change: a bowl of blueberries, a handful of walnuts, and a quiet moment of gratitude before the day began. 3 months later, his wife noticed something subtle yet unmistakable. His memory seemed sharper. He was recalling names faster, finishing crossword puzzles again and laughing more easily. It wasn't a miracle. It was biology responding to consistency. The inflammation in his body had decreased, his energy had stabilized, and his brain was once again communicating with the clarity he thought he had lost forever. The truth is, the line between decline and renewal is thinner than we imagine. The same brain that forgets is also capable of remembering again. Neurons can regrow connections, signals can be rerouted, and plasticity, the brain's inherent ability to adapt, can reawaken at any age. What changes that trajectory is not luck or genetics alone, but daily decisions made with awareness. Every morning, every meal, every thought becomes a message to the brain saying, "I still need you strong." We tend to believe that aging is a slow surrender, but it is not. It is a negotiation. The body asks for attention, and when we give it, it rewards us with resilience. Food is one of the purest ways of speaking that language. The right nutrients, found in something as small as a berry, can silence inflammation, nourish synapses, and preserve the map of who we are. Science has finally given us permission to hope, because evidence now proves that even modest changes in lifestyle can slow or even prevent the cognitive erosion that once seemed inevitable. The people who live the longest with the clearest minds are not those who chase perfection, but those who honor small habits with faith. They wake up, they move, they eat real food, they sleep deeply, and they connect with others. Their brains respond with gratitude. This is the quiet miracle of discipline. You don't need to change your life overnight. You just need to begin. The next time you look at your breakfast table, see it as an act of self-preservation. The spoon that lifts those blueberries is not only feeding your body, it is preserving your memories, your laughter, your essence. And maybe, one morning, months from now, you'll find yourself remembering something small, a name, a tune, a story you haven't told in years, and you'll realize that your brain was listening all along. You gave it what it needed: nourishment, movement, rest, peace. And it responded by giving you something priceless in return: clarity. If you found value in what you've learned today, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Each week, we explore the connection between science and daily life, how to use natural, evidence-based habits to protect your mind, your heart, and your body. By subscribing, you become part of a community that believes aging is not decline, but evolution, a chance to live longer with purpose, awareness, and joy. Share this video with someone you love, someone who may need a reminder that hope still exists in the simplest places, in the color of a fruit, the rhythm of a walk, the stillness of sleep. Together, we can make brain health a universal habit, not a privilege. Because the future of memory begins not in a laboratory, but in the quiet moments of choice. Each morning, your breakfast can be your medicine, your protection, your promise to yourself. Eat wisely, live fully. And never forget that prevention begins at the table.